where I got scared was that I couldn't touch my skin. Um, and the moment I couldn't touch flesh, I was like, oh no, 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 no. Did I die? I had that thought. And automatically it was like a vacuum so fast I couldn't even hold on to nothing. It just pulled me into this darkness. Unfortunately, I was saying a lot of profanities in Spanish. I was not happy. I did not understand why that had to happen or anything in my life had to happen. I was just like going at it, blaming God for everything.
With me today is Rosalia Quintana. Welcome and thank you for coming on the show, Rosalia. It's good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Rod. It's an honor to be here. I'm actually really excited. I was telling you earlier, this is my first podcast in Australia, like streaming from someone in Australia. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, me too. I often get that comment. There's not that many of us in Australia that are doing, interviewing people in this sort of the esoteric field, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. I can't wait to see, how many people are doing this in a couple of years' time. Now, I noticed from one of your other interviews that you had a near-death experience, which is one of my fascinations. So to get us started, could you tell us a bit about what your life was growing up and then some details about your NDE?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually born and raised in Cuba. I grew up in a farm. So I was usually just barefooted running around with a bunch of animals. So I had a very nice childhood. I came to Miami in the year 2000 and been here ever since. I became a nurse practitioner. That's what I do by trade still. And 2018 came around and I was just very unhappy with my life, with myself, with everything. I just couldn't find honestly meaning or purpose in what I was doing. I know it sounds a bit weird, but when you're battling, I guess, and at some point, whether it's depression or some mental health issues that may arise from different things that happen to us, I had never experienced that before. I was pretty what you would call functional, I guess. Just doing multitasking, just a lot on my masculine energy, doing a lot of just producing, buying, selling, and just doing a bunch of stuff and operating at what I consider to be a high level. But I was imbalanced in a lot of ways. So 2018 came around and I went through what I would call my dark night of the soul, started searching for a lot of things outside myself, including God or the meaning of life or whatever you want to call that. And it led me to a lot of energy work, breath work, movement, art. It led me into so many beautiful journeys. I did some plant medicine. Anything I could get my hands on, Akashic records, anything. I didn't get hypnosis, whatever came across, even tarot. Um, but that wasn't, I mean, it helped some. But it wasn't really, I guess, I needed a deeper connection, a deeper knowing, experiential, just, I don't know. I just had this longing for something and I didn't even know what it was. I couldn't explain it to you. It's just, I knew something was missing. There had to be more. Like, this could not be the only thing there could be to a human experience. I was about like to lose my mind. And I said, I'm going to find it. I know it's got to be something else. I'm going to find it. And in 2022, I was not with who is my wife now. We were married for a while. 2018 came around. There was the big crisis. We got divorced and we took some time apart. Um, and then we were in a trip for her birthday in California. We were hiking. We stayed overnight, a little camping ground there. And that night, I could feel that it was different in the way that the night looked, the stars looked weird. And I thought, well, maybe it's in the mountains. Miami, it doesn't really have any mountains. I'm not really used to it. Maybe it's just like that beautiful and, whatever. Didn't think any much of it. I went to sleep and I started to feel extreme cold and sweats, very, very pronounced. At that time, I was not dealing with anything crazy in regards to my health. The only thing I had was an issue with my pituitary. Um, that was very high levels in the pituitary, but I choose no treatment. I just wanted to do my own healing my own way. So I didn't really have anything health wise that I could think could have caused any of this. Um, and I was there. I lost track of time or space. I couldn't tell you what part of the night this happened or how long it lasted. I did see myself outside of this camping space. And to me, it was very weird. I thought I was dreaming. And then I started just looking all around and just questioning everything like, what is this? This is so weird. Where am I? Like, what's happening? And then I could see a lot of sacred geometry all around, electromagnetic field, hieroglyphics, a bunch of sacred geometry all around us. And where I got scared was that I couldn't touch my skin. Um, and the moment I couldn't touch flesh, I was like, oh no, 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 no. Did I die? I had that thought. And automatically it was like a vacuum so fast I couldn't even hold on to nothing. It was just like I don't know, like I can't explain it, but it just pulled me into this darkness that was so infinite. Um, it was almost like if you're floating in space. I can't even describe it. Um, but it was very scary for me. I was shown a lot of things that I was afraid of. Um, Especially one that replayed the most was things that I felt guilty about. Things that I did, I could have done better with my wife, with my children, leaving my mom behind. I just couldn't, like the pain, the guilt was killing me of a lot of these things that maybe I could have done different in my life. Now it's just fighting all of these other scenarios of fear that I was confronted with. I was confronted, all of my fears, I was placed like in a, almost like in a movie, like in a scenario. And I had to confront the fear. And once I confronted, I was moved into another clip or another movie or another scenario. Um, and then the last one, that one kept replaying over and over, which is the one I just told you, like that guilt. And I couldn't accept that I had died. I was just in a lot of denial and just a lot of pain. I didn't like, no, 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 no. It's just it's not possible. It's not possible. Um, and I got so tired, like I would say physically, but I didn't have a physical body, so it's really weird to explain it. I was just tired of fighting whatever this was. I couldn't name it. And I said, well, I guess I died. I don't know. And I started saying in Spanish, Ave Marias and Padre Nuestros is like the prayers in Spanish. I grew up Catholic, so a lot of those prayers and just asking for God for help, really, because I couldn't figure out how to get out of there, and it was extremely scary for me, extremely scary. I think it's been the hardest and most scariest thing I've ever been through in my life. Um, And there I was just thinking, to me, it feels like the center of the earth. I don't know how else I could describe it. It's like a sphere being inside the center, surrounded by a big electromagnetic field. And to me, it was earth, but I can't tell you exactly if it was. Um, and I could see what I consider to be like kind of like Mother Earth or a representation of Earth in some way. Um, and then God came forward, and I was just very angry. Unfortunately, I was saying a lot of profanities in Spanish. I was not happy. I did not understand why that had to happen or anything in my life had to happen. I was just like, going at it, blaming God for everything. And I remember he had like kind of like a half a smile. Like I couldn't see his teeth, but it was like kind of like just like a peaceful, like there's no response of anger or nothing. Um, and I saw him as a he. That's not how I see my understanding of God now. We'll get to that later, but in that particular scenario, I did see him as a he. Um, and there was a point. He placed his hand on my shoulder. That's it. Everything else was gone. No anger, pure a love that is not humanly imaginable. Mm. It is infinite. It is. It doesn't judge. It is perfect. There's no words. I can't. There are no words for the love that you feel. Um, and then right in front of me, I started to see many past lives. And I've been from every continent, every race, every gender. So a lot of the judgment I had maybe for my dad or for a lot of, just different things and people that I thought they were good and these were bad, and just these illusions of separation, and me being one way and you being another, and just judging and all of these things. I'm like, oh my God, I've been everything and I've been everyone. We're just one. There's no difference. I remember coming to that realization, like, oh, that's also me. Um, and then it's just so many, like, just so much love and compassion for myself and for everyone else. It was like, yeah, I can't even really describe it sometimes. Um, and then I was shown a life review, but it started before incarnating. So I was able to see how I chose my parents, the place of birth, like a bunch of different things. Um, And one of the most healing moments for me was I was going through a rough relationship with my dad ever since he left when I was 2 from Cuba to Miami. And I didn't see him until I came here. So that was, a big gap in the relationship there. So I resented him for leaving and abandoning me and all these things. And I was I could see all of my dad's side, all of my his our soul family, I guess you could call, all surrounded in a circle and speaking how we were going to plan to learn different lessons and how they were going to play that role for me to learn something. And then I understood and I said, "Oh my God, you're my teacher. Like thank you." I had no idea. Because I don't think we have many similarities. We're like 99.9% non-compatible in ideas, which is beautiful. Now I see it that way. Um, and that was one of the most healing things because I could finally let go of that, I don't know, that wound or that heaviness or that, I don't know, that was associated with that, with not having him when I was growing up. Just feeling a lot of love for that. Um, and just a lot of understanding. So I didn't get the exact blueprint as to like, okay, now you go back and do ABC. That's not how I got it. But it was just this understanding, like to just share, to help, to do anything I can. That the other and myself were all just one consciousness, one love. That love is the frequency of everything, of creation, that flows through all of us, through me, through you, to everything, every kingdom, everything in existence. Some people call it chi, prana, light bulbs, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it love, and it's just such a beautiful. I mean, it changed my life. That's what I was looking for. I um, I found it. That has helped me to gain a lot of inner peace. It doesn't mean that I don't swing on the pendulum. Like, I have my moments. We all do. We get triggered. We get mad. I'm not exempt from any human emotion or human experience. I mean, after that, I've been hospitalized. I've had health issues, and I've been through like a bunch of stuff. But I see it with more grace. I'm like, okay, so what's the lesson in this now? Okay. And kind of just looking at things with a different view, with a different lens, understanding that my soul chose a lot of these lessons. My higher self. I was able to meet my higher self as well. That was very beautiful. Um, yeah, I mean, it changed my life forever. And just trusting to trust the great mystery that the plan will unfold little by little. Whatever's supposed to happen is in perfect order. And then to kind of finish the near death, I do remember that I had a lot of questions and anger, asking specifically about the suffering, the hunger, the war. I was just like, if you exist, how can this even be possible? And I couldn't bring a lot of those answers back. Although, as long as he had the his hand on my shoulder, I had all the answers at that moment, like of existence, basically. Every question I could think about, I already knew the answer. I didn't have, so you have zero questions. There's no questions. And I thought here that I had pretty good existential questions. Like here, I thought I was going to go at it, but no, I was just everything was available and everything was in order, which is just very hard to understand or to comprehend or to grasp my human consciousness around this concept that somehow it is all happening for our highest good and our highest evolution of our soul. So yeah, that kind of sums up the near death.
How did you, after you had your near death experience, did you then sort of have a different reframing of your previous experiences in your life up until that point?
Yeah. I'm like, well, I guess, I mean, I can like backtrack and saw how it all made sense and it got me to this point, like why this needed to happen and everything was connected and related. Every moment led to this moment. And this has led to where I am today and what I'm sharing today. And I'm like, so I guess the more I go in the journey and then I kind of look back and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's why. But I couldn't understand it at that moment. So it has reframed the way I see life in general, the way I see myself. I have a lot more love, compassion for myself. Like, who cares if you fall, if you fail, if you, none of that matters. It's just like an experience. Um, it's enjoying the journey more. Um, before I was very focused on chasing the carrot, like the money, the success, this, that. Um, and all those things will come and go. It's like the ebb and flow of life, you know. But there's really not that attachment. You're like, "But you don't want to let go. You don't want to, you don't want this to change, or you don't want to like shift or change your ways or whatever you're doing now, So I'm still learning. I'm still integrating it. I'm trusting God, source, universe to guide the way, my higher self, my guides to help me through the process. And just sharing it with one another, speaking more our truth, whatever, even if it's completely different than mine. I think one of the biggest things to me, it's important to use my social media platform to be able to hold space for different points of views without disowning your truth. That to me is so, so important because to me it feels like, let's just say, our consciousness has a huge veil, let's just say, on top of us, right? And let's just hypothetically say we're experiencing life at 5% and the rest is subconscious, unconscious, and multiple layers of consciousness. And then you get shown like a little corner of the veil, I get shown a little other corner and so forth, and everybody, so it would be nice if we all come together, like the scholars, the great alchemists. They used to come together and talk about these things, about their awakening, their journeys, and just putting all these pieces together. A lot of the shamans, a lot of sacred texts, and even in religion, there's beauty and there's learning in each one of them, right? So if somehow we can find a way to look at ourselves as a humanity, as just as one humanity or one ecosystem operating in love, for love, and with love, I think we can kind of shift that balance a little bit, and just create something more beautiful that we can leave to our children, even if we don't really necessarily get the chance to experience it ourselves. But like, what do you want to leave behind? Do you want to leave it as it is? Is that the best we can do? I don't know.
I agree. There's the idea that there is just one worldview and that's the right one. It's never really sat that well with me at all. And it's interesting how there's when you've had an experience like yours, especially for people with near-death experiences, I find that this is fairly common. There's this universal law, which is we are all one. Like we all share that same sort of divine energy, but that's the only thing that is universally true. And there are sort of everyone has their own sort of truths. Like this point of view is true for me, it's not true for someone else. So truth is kind of a more of a it's not an absolute thing, you know. That's the way I look at it. I used to think, well, there's facts and there's which is truth, but sometimes truth is a little more. It's more of a spectrum, I think, and but it's important to understand it because then we can accept that there are truths for other people that's true for them and what was true for us, and that it doesn't mean that somebody's actually wrong or bad or something like that.
Yeah, I think the red line for me is if you're harming yourself or if you're harming another human being.
Mm,
That is a big red line for me. Other than that, potato, potato, sure. Why
mm.
not? Well, as long as it's as you're doing good, I always say like the qualities of God. How are we embodying those? It's that simple. Just do good, help another human being, try not to harm another, try to take care of the earth. Just simple things. It's not complicated as we make it. Um, I wonder if it's okay for me to highlight a peace treaty request that I have. Would that be possible?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that. So maybe put a pin in that one, Rosalia, because I've got a couple of things I want to ask you first, but
Okay.
I will be asking you about that. I wanted to ask about how your relationship with your dad changed after, assuming that it did after you had your near-death experience.
You know, thank you for asking that question, first of all. It has been baby steps for both of us. You would maybe people hear this and they imagine you automatically go back and hug your dad and things are dandy or something. So it's a process because first I spent a long time trying to integrate what had happened to me. Like I was just, I don't want to say shut down, but I was just like in shock. Like, like what just happened? How, what does that mean for me? How is that going to play out in my life? What am I going to do? I don't resonate or like any of the things I used to. I don't care about a lot of stuff now. Like I was just like, okay, hang on. You know, just don't don't leave everything and run. Let's just be here. Use our logic. Um, and and then I started taking baby steps with my dad. I started to see him and his comments and his ways of being in the world, especially women. So a lot of Hispanic men are very what we call machista, right? Like just very I don't want to say degrading of women, but they don't see them as equals, you know? So to me, that's a big trigger. And or it used to be. Now I'm just like, sure, that's fine, whatever. You know, it's because you don't seek validation outside anymore. So you're like, it only has weight if you add to it, right? Or if you take it personal. So it took me a long time. I started just by sharing more time with him, and just trying I still did try not to judge his comments and just trying to stay as neutral as I could, understanding he's just in the path as I am. And he's a mirror for me to show me what I still need to work on, what still bothers me, and he knows what buttons to press because he's the best at it. He's got it. So I'm just like, okay, okay. I see kind of like what's happening there. So I definitely helped me develop a lot of patience, a lot of tolerance for different opinions, for different views, for different ways of operating. And one of the biggest lessons for me was loving him unconditionally, but for real, not fake. Loving him unconditionally, parentheses, without wanting to change him. And that took a lot of work. We wrote each other letters. He wrote me 7 pages telling me things I had never imagined he felt about me. Um, and he's gone. He initially didn't believe in anything I said at all. Nothing, not a word. He doesn't believe in nothing, basically. So, which is fine. Also, it's fine. My family is very diverse. We have many different religions, which I think it's nice because it allows me to be so flexible and with so many different views. And it's amazing we all still talk to each other. So there's that. So, and he doesn't really believe in anything. So all of these comments I would say or things I would say about God or oneness or all these things, he would just like, what are you talking about? Like, you're crazy kind of thing. So just little by little, we've gotten to a place where he has attended my breathwork sessions. He has not done yet done my signature program, but that's okay. If he ever needs it, it's there for him. My mom has done a couple sessions. Some of the people in my family have asked for help. So I'm very, I don't want to use the word cautious. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Very attentive to my energy and not wanting to save other people or change my family because that, it first it takes away from their journey, it takes away from my energy. It's just not a good combination. So just being patient, being here, they know what I do. If somebody wants to come and have a chat or have a conversation or a cafecito or whatever, we'll share it. Um, but not really overstepping and wanting to save anybody or change anybody because it doesn't from where I stand, it doesn't work that way. Um, and even if I look to me, like it would be very difficult for someone to come and try to change me and my views. So I'm just very respectful of that for other people. Um, and then my truth has changed from last year to the year before that to the year before that. So even my own view is constantly evolving and changing, and seeing things from different spectrums. So now I'm just very grateful to not be so attached or rigid to these views and just allow to kind of like move around a little bit and then see what you have to say, what I have to say, and see what serves me from that and so on. But it has improved greatly. We had a beautiful conversation on Sunday. We were sitting at the porch. We played dominoes. We talked about life. I told him a couple stuff. He didn't answer anything back, so I don't know exactly what that means. But at least we're talking and it has improved very much. And I feel unconditional love for him. I truly do. And I no longer want to change him. I think that to me, that's my biggest accomplishment. That I love him as it is. If he never changes and he never understands what anything I say, that's beautiful and I love him. So I'm happy where we're at.
Mm. That's a powerful lesson, and it means that you're empowered as well. Because I think if we go along in life blaming other people, like you, the reason why I have this problem is because you're like that, and like it's really up to that person then to have to change to for you to like evolve, which really doesn't make any sense, does it? It's like, well, if you want to actually be in charge of your own evolution, you're going to have to let go of blaming other people for whatever's going on in your life. So yeah, and sometimes family, you feel like what am I doing in this family? Like they're not even anything like me. It's like, how come those people over there have family that they can relate to like that? Oh, I want that kind of relationship over there. It's like everyone else has got a better family relationship than one you want. I often have that thought as well. But you know, the family we've got is the one that we're supposed to have, and think sometimes maybe the lesson is like what you've had. It's just accepting them. That the lesson is learning to accept and not judge someone for how they are. So let's have a look at. You were talking about you've initiated this 10-year worldwide peace treaty. So tell us more about that project.
Yes. This peace treaty has been on Change.org since October of last year, since the war, got pretty heated. I felt just a heart calling to put it out there. Recently, it has been picking up more signatures because I received a message through a patient. I believe God speaks through all of us. So I'm a big fan of synchronicities, of people's messages for me. So I'm always constantly like, I always scan everything for pattern recognition. I'm like trying to trying to see what the message is. And I had a patient come in, and he said so many beautiful things that he could see in my future. And I do respect that. And I do understand that there are many timelines, so it could get more complex than this. But um, one of the most beautiful things he said was, you could be doing more and you could be speaking more. Oh, and that just hit my heart. Like, I know I could. Oh my God. Like, you're right. I could. How did I not, like, how was I just sitting on it and not doing more? Yes, I could. I can do more. You're right. And it hit me like a heavy, like a block. Like, I was just, I don't know. It's been there a year. How did I not move more with this? Anyway, so now I am getting on podcasts. I'm bringing light to it. I'm sending it everywhere, to the Senate, to courts, to judges, to people my dad knows, to people my mom knows. I send it to everyone in the community. I am every interview I do. It's like my main focus is the peace treaty. The peace treaty. Let me make sure I don't forget to put it out there. To me, that's the most important. If I die tomorrow, and we could have peace, that's it.
That's wonderful. We'll put a link to that in the show
Thank
notes
you.
for you. I've heard you mention accessing the Akashic records. So can you explain what they are for people who may not be familiar with them?
Yeah, the Akashic Records basically is just a library. And then to me, you can access not just your own Akashic Records or someone else's Akashic Records, but really to me, it equals also as the quantum field, if you want to think of that, or all of consciousness and also multi-dimensions. It can get quite complex, depending of where you look at it from. Um, so can I speak about my zebra method in this, or do you have
Sure, yeah, I
questions?
was going to ask you about that. So sure, go ahead.
Just because it goes hand in hand with that. So with the zebra method, which was given to me by my guides, it's a 90-day program. And we basically go into breath work and guided meditation. We go into your Akashic records with your permission, of course. We make sure to close it before we exit the session. And we go and explore your Akashic records, your subconscious mind, and different planes of consciousness. And I'm just there guiding you because I do it so often. I do it daily. Um, so to me, is like it feels like home. I know the way. And I'm just reminding you, you already know the way. You just maybe are busy with kids' school bills and you're just like don't have some time to stop and try to navigate this realms. So it's really beautiful because all of the information that you need, you receive it, you see it with your third eye, you hear it, you're like, it's all you. And so I'm just like guiding you, but everything, all of the downloads, all of that stuff is coming directly to you and from you. So it's really you're just your own guide. And by the time we're done with the 90 days, you know how to do it yourself. And I just make really good friends. Like I literally text with all of my clients as friends. So it's really it's not work for me. It's it goes beyond that. It's like it's food for my soul. It's what I came here to do, or one of the things I came here to do. It's really nice. I really enjoy what I do. I love it, and the transformations are beautiful. So, yeah.
So everyone has their own Akashic record, and what's typically contained within that?
Well, we can explore past life, parallel lives, different dimensions. I mean, it can get quite fun. We can go into the library and just because there are many ways to access it, by the way, not just one way. There are prayers and there are different prayers. There's guided meditations. There are different places that you can access it via meditation as well. But in there, we can really look at anything you want to look at. I don't work with accessing other people. Like if you are my client and you wanted to access your husband's records or someone else, I don't do that. We only
Hmm.
work with your records, with your permission, and you actually going through it yourself. So I don't later go or do nothing. We do the session and that's it. It stays there. So yeah, there's a lot you can access and a lot you could do. Depending
So,
on your, I guess, level of expertise, we can explore more or go deeper. But I think most of my patients are kind of like what you would consider beginners um, in accessing their Akashic records and doing this type of work. So we kind of like we have a protocol and we kind of like deepen it with every session, deeper, deeper, and deeper. So they can kind of like also integrate what comes forward because it can be a lot. So it's a process.
so what have you learned from, particularly like integrating your near-death experience? So, what have you learned integrating that into your life that might help other people who have had some sort of, transformative experience and trying to figure out how to understand what's happened to them?
Well, if I tell you that after everything I've done, I have come back full circle to just realizing that it was all about the now moment and all about actually living the human experience exactly as it is without changing anything. I don't know if you would believe me if I told you that. But yeah, it's really all about embracing our humanity and living every now moment, feeling every emotion, feeling the anger, the sadness, the love, the rage, all of it. It is, but we're here to experience all of it. Um, and I don't even remember who said that the Buddha was carrying buckets of water on the tree, and then he got enlightened and came back and continued doing exactly the same thing. Um, it's all about life and living the now moment. You're, yeah, you see it from a different perception. And I was telling my wife, I can't even believe like the environment hasn't changed. Nothing has changed. The place where we live hasn't changed. Nothing, and everything has changed. Like inside ourselves, I'm just like, how is that possible? That the only thing that changed was your perception. It is
Mm.
unbelievable. So just anchor, ground, work on grounding, right? Before when I was looking a lot for outside, and I love and I honor plant medicine, it was a huge catalyst in my journey. I have a lot of respect for all of the shaman medicine women, alchemists that I've learned from. I mean, I've had wonderful teachers along the way. Um, but in reality, I found in from my perception that it was more about your body and embodying and becoming one with it and one with the experience and one with the earth and what you do and how you affect the other person that you come in contact with in those like little microseconds, even if it's at the store, even if it's all connected, it's all like a web of life. Really just, I don't know, I'm losing my trying to explain it, but it's also beautiful as it is. I work on grounding because you can feel very ungrounded when you have these out of body experiences or these magnificent experiences. Um, Work on grounding a lot of that. Give yourself space for integration. I would say try not to do a lot of these experiences like back to back. Like, how are you going to implement that in your daily life? And like in my case with my dad and my mom and my entire family, the dynamic with my entire, I even have a women's circle with my family. Like I would have never had that. Like, what is that? Um, Cubans don't have that. Those, you know, um, so all of these changes, I see it on my day to day, and I'm just so appreciative of being a vehicle for that change and for bringing the family together. Um, so it's just that, like, how are you embodying it? It is more about the simple things than the big things I thought it was all about. I don't know if that makes sense. It was never
Mm.
about that. It was or there. It was always about here and now, and just the simplest details. Yeah, I don't know if that explains it, but just focus on anchoring, on grounding, on being here. You're right where you need to be. You're not ahead or behind. You're exactly where you need to be for your own journey. Enjoy it. Find something. Oh, can I say something about being grateful? Because that changed my life.
Sure.
Would it be possible? Yep. So I had a really hard time finding before this, finding a reason to truly generally be grateful in the morning when I woke up. So I started rewiring my subconscious mind and just listening to like gratitude affirmations and songs and stuff like that. And now it has gotten to the point, and the Ho'oponopono prayer is really good for this, by the way. And when you wake up, now I wake up in the morning, the only thing in my mind is being grateful. There's no, it doesn't matter what problem I'm going through. It doesn't matter if life is falling apart. Nothing matters. My first thought in my subconscious mind is I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. And then for all the little minute things that you can imagine, I just start naming them. And my day just starts off on a different foot, on a different note. It's just being grateful, practicing gratefulness. I heard it in books everywhere else, but it never clicked. Um, I guess until you do it yourself, you're really it just sounds like, I don't want to say stupid, but it sounds so simple. Like you don't think it's going to do anything for you. Um, but it has changed my life. I highly recommend that.
If people want to ask you questions and get in touch with you, is there a way for them to do that? And can you tell us about what you've got going on as far as books or programs or anything like that?
Thank you for that. The easiest way would be to find me on Instagram, Quantum Alchemist Master, or you can email me, quantumalchemistmaster@gmail.com. And books, my second book is out, Becoming Your Own Quantum Alchemist Master. There's also about, it speaks about my near death experience into more detail. And it's also about uniting again the North, the South, the East, the West, and bringing everybody together. Speaks about the peace treaty, just kind of bringing light to the same thing.
Excellent. And is there anything final that you'd like to leave people with before we wrap up our conversation?
Yes, and I actually learned this through plant medicine. And the lessons were transfer all your senses to the heart, all of them. I know it sounds weird. Just try to use your heart and your intuition to discern this. We must learn to see from the heart, to hear from the heart, everything that all of our senses, but from the heart, connected to the heart.
All right, Rosalia, it's been great talking to you today. Thanks for being a guest on my show.
Thank you so much, Fred. Appreciate it.